Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, Dr. Azman. Our group will present on our project that we call Book Access, a system that improvises the old one bookstore system to the more modern and more interactive ways. Here are our group members that involved in our project. Firstly, let me start with our system context and boundaries. We are revolutionizing online bookstores with our innovative new app, which seamlessly organizes ebooks and changes reading experience with features like eye tracking and augmented reality, offers special edition books, and fosters interactivity with rewards for frequent users. Our aim is to not only captivate users with a fun and engaging reading experience, but also to encourage them to explore physical bookstores, bridging the gap between digital and traditional reading realism. Our goal is to develop an app that stimulates a love for reading and promotes book purchasing, both online and in physical stores. Our approach involves incentivizing users with prizes, merchandise, and exclusive special edition products as they reach reading milestones, fostering a positive and interactive experience that encourage continued engagement and exploration of literature. Our scope of project include the integrated eye tracking, which is the implementation of eye tracking technology to monitor user engagement and reading time. Unlockable special edition books, which is the development of a point-based system tied to milestone achieved through reading time and engagement. Augmented reality merchandise, which is the introduction of augmented reality features tied to user milestone and points. And lastly, the yearly bookmark report, which is the creation of personalized summary showcasing users' reading habits and preference throughout the year. For the system function, firstly, we have timeout and eye tracker, where if the user is inactive for 3 minutes, a warning system will pop up, and after an additional 2 minutes of inactivity, the system time out to ensure the security and efficiency. Next, we have the enrich reading function, which is user will earn points for every book they read. This point can be redeemed for discount, free gift, or free books. Next, we have special edition books function, where user can unlock access to special edition book as user achieve a certain reading level for encourage the consistency engagement with the bookstore offerings. Other than that, we also have the augmented reality wayfinding, which is an AR-based system that will guide the users to book location within the store using arrow direction and pop-up guides. Next, we have the AR merchandise system function, where when user purchase certain books, it will unlock the team AR content such as a custom arrow styles in the AR wayfinding system and related posters or animation and adding an extra layer of engagement. And the last function that we have is the read wrap up, which system will provide the users with a summary of their reading habits, including the statistic and recommendation, and fostering a deeper connection with their reading journey. For our target user, firstly, we are targeting for the bookstore staff, which is include the managers, sales representative, and the support staff. And the users that we target is the customers, with the system is designed for students, faculty members, and the other bookstore visitors. Next, for the concern that we face in developing our project, firstly, the technology dependency. The high reliance on AR and eye tracking technology require a robust hardware and a software maintenance because of its high technology. Secondly, we are facing the user privacy concerns, where to ensure that user data, especially from the eye tracker and reading habit, is securely handled, and the hardware limitation, which is the dependence on customer having access to AR capable devices for the full experience. For the assumption, we are assume that users are comfortable with access to AR technology and are willing to participate in a gamified reading experience and assume that bookstore has the necessary hardware and software infrastructure to support the BMS. For the dependencies, firstly, the BMS requires a stable internet connection for real-time data synchronization. Next, the system depends on the reliable functioning of AR technology, eye tracking systems, and a robust digital platform for tracking reading habits and points. And the last one is the system should be compatible with various operating systems and device for accessibility. That's all from me. I will pass to the next presenter.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Iman ZULHAKIM bin Muhammad ZULKHORI, Bookstore number 28430. So I'll continue on the presentation for scenario-based modeling, which is for activity diagram. So the first activity diagram is the integrated eye tracking. So as you can see here, firstly, uh, the activity is integrate eye tracking. Then it performs record gaze duration, and the next one is customize eye tracking and provide anonymized option output. The next one is unlock special edition books. So the first one, the activity is initiates the unlock special edition books, then specifies which special edition book tiers. Then it will display all the available special edition book. After that, the system can grant access to special edition book, and this includes special edition features. The next activity diagram is enrich reading. So the system will track reading activity, then it will accumulate points. From that, from the accumulated point, it translates to accumulated reading activity points. And next one, there's also offering benefits, and it will notify the users. For number four, which is augmented reality merchandise. So the first thing is we unlock. Uh, the first activity here is we unlock AR merchandise. Then in the ability to inspect 3D model, use the merge in the visual makeover, display the augmented reality merchandise on the account, and this also includes to view others users merchandise. And lastly, report yearly bookmark. So the first thing is that it will report the activity here is the report yearly bookmark. Then review reading journey, share bookmark with other users, share bookmark on other apps, and this also includes the ability to connect with other users with similar bookmarks. And that's it for the case-based modeling of uh, activity diagram. Sorry, scenario-based modeling for activity diagram. We'll continue on class-based modeling for class diagram in data perspective. So we have 6 classes here. The first one is eye tracking. Eye tracking have 5 attributes and 5 operations. So we have time spent reading, gaze duration sections, customer settings, share reading insights, and anonymize or opt out. The operations are start eye tracking, stop eye tracking, analyze gaze data, share insights on social media, and toggle anonymization. For special edition book, it's basically the same. There are time spent reading. The attributes, sorry, there are 5 attributes and 5 operations. So the attributes is quite similar to eye tracking. So there are time spent reading, gaze duration on sections, customer settings, share reading insights, and anonymize or opt out. But the operations are slightly different. There are defined tiers for tiers of special edition book. There's display available books, grant access, include features, and handle error. Next one is enriched reading. So enriched reading have four attributes and four operations. They are track reading activity, convert to points, offer benefits, and notify user. The operation are track reading activity, convert to points, offer benefits, and notify user. And the next one is augmented reality merchandise class. So we have one, two, three, four, five attributes and another five operations. So the attributes are unlock AR merchandise, inspect merchandise, use in other functionalities, display on account, view other user merchandise, unlock AR merchandise for the operation. Based on the each achievement, there's a list of achievement, and there are also inspect merchandise uh, operation, use in other functionalities, display on account, view other user merchandise. And there's also the report yearly bookmark. It's have report yearly bookmark class have four attributes and four operations too. So they are review annual journey, share bookmarks, share on other apps, connect with similar bookmarks, and the operations are review annual journey, share bookmarks, share on other apps, and connect with similar bookmarks. And lastly, we have user class. So user class have three attributes, which is username, email, and password. And the operations are login, logout, and customize profile. And that's it for class-based modeling, class diagram. Thank you. I'll pass on to the next presenter.
Hi, my name is Chong Paulo and my mention number is 284508. Now I'm going to talk about for the flow-oriented modeling, which the data flow diagram and the control flow diagram. So for the data flow, first part is the integrated eye tracking. Right here, there will be several parts which the customer trade reading times, customer data, analysis data. So first of all, when the customer reading the book, there will be a reading time data being used for track the reading time, and this data will going to save inside the customer data. So the customer data we're going to use for the ice tracking. So there will be an anonymized data and it going back to the customer data, and this data we're going to use for the record guest duration and you're going to track for the customer. So for the next part is the unlock special additional book. So for the display available book, so you're going to right here. So from the customer data, you will going having the reading level data and it will checking all the level data. So and you're going to save inside the book data. So you're going to check like display the available book from the book data. So if the book is available, so you're going to display for the customer. If the customer want to select the book, you're going back to the display available book and it will retrieve from the book database and you're going back to checking the reading level. So for the grant access to book, the customer can select the book and you're going to grant the book access from the book database and it will going to verify for the customer data this, then you're going back for the grad book access and it will let the customer to access. So for the next part is the enrichment reading with the track reading activity right here. So the customer can read the reading activity data from the customer you're going to use for track reading activity and you're going to save inside the customer data. So for the convert reading activity into the points right here, the customer data will directly convert to the points and it's going to save inside the customer database. For the next part is the augmented reality machines. So for the another AR machines, the customer data being used and it will going to check for the achievement data for unlocked AR machines, and this AR machine will going to store the data inside the database. So inside the database right here, the customer can be used for the display alarm machines. So for the display AR machine is right here. So for the customer select the AR machine, they can view the display of the AR machines right here. So from the AR machines data, they will going to display for the selected AR machines. So for the next part is the report yearly bookmark. So first part is the general report. So inside the general report, the customer data will be going to use for the bookmark data and it going to display for the customer. So it going same for the share bookmark. The customer will select the bookmark and it will going to display the website and it going back for the customer. So first from the control flow, the user will interact with the system right here. So it will going to display the available book. So inside the available book, the user will going back to the track reading activity, and inside the same time, the user will having the trade reading verified reading level right here. So inside the reading level verified reading level, you're going to check the reading level for the user, and you're going to check for the access permission. If the grant access to the specific edition bookmark is available, so you're going back to display the special edition book. So if the permission is not allowed, you're going back to the right here for track the reading activity. So inside the track reading activity, you're going to track the reading times, record the guest duration, and you're going to convert the time to the points and analyze eye tracking data, and you're going back to the inspect AR merges. So inside the inspect AR merge, you're going to determine the AR merge LLB. So the user can choose for another AR merges. You're going back to the inspect AR merges right here. So inside the generate yearly bookmark report, the user can decide to share the externally bookmark externally or not. So if not, you're going to the end. If yes, you're going to share for the bookmark. Next, we're going to the behavior modeling state transition diagram. For the state diagram, first of all, the user need to log in. Right here, user login. The user can directly enter their information for login to the home screen. If not, the user have the account, the user need to register. If the user is failed to register, it going back to the login part. If it's successfully registered, the user will be linked to the home screen. So inside the home screen, there will be a three part which the user need to read. User can read, check their reward, and view their annual bookmark. So first of all, the user want to read the book. So there will be an ebook library. Inside ebook library, there will be a two part which the general and the special additional library. So if the user want to read the specific genre, you will go in right here and you're going to read the book. It same goes like the user didn't have their account. The user can also read the special additional library right here. And in the same time, there will be an eye tracker being used, and you're going to collect the points using the time. So in the same time, if there will be a problem or connection loss, the user will going to link to the home screen. So for the next part is for user check their reward, and user can view their annual bookmark. So inside the annual bookmark, there will be a machines. So for the user check their reward, there will be three parts which the user need to unlock using the point, which we can say just now. The point can be used for another special additional book and unlock the book machines. So for the reward, the user can unlock the special additional library and the machines. In the same time, there will be a new part which the other reward, which can be used like the discount. They can be used inside the store. So there will be a AR room which the store in right here. So inside the store AR room right here, user can go into the AR room and test the AR part, which like the user can view the direction of the book inside the AR room, and the direction will be having their characteristic based on the AR machines. So that's all from my part. Thank you.
I'm Mohamad Soleh, and now I will be presenting on our project functional and non-functional requirement. So for the functional requirement, first we have integrated eye tracking, unlocking special book edition, enriched reading, augmented reality merchandise, and finally report yearly bookmark. Moving on to NFR, we dash on the issue of performance, security, scalability, and usability. The first functional requirement, the integrated eye tracking, we have 5 IDs. The first one being the system should be able to track time spent using the eye tracking. And then the second part, we have the system having the ability to record the user gaze duration on the book section. This is also a mandatory priority. And then the user can customize the eye tracking settings, such as the sensitivity and so on, based on their preference. This is an optional priority. And then we have the user be able to share their reading insights of the eye tracking data to their social media. This is part of desirables. And finally, we have the system providing an option for users to anonymize or opt out of their sharing for the specific eye tracking data points for privacy concerns. Second functional requirement, the unlocking special edition book. So also 5 IDs. The first one being user system having the ability to define different tiers of special edition book based on the user's reading levels. This is mandatory. And then the system shall display available special edition books to user based on their unlocking reading level. This is also mandatory. And then we have the system granting access to special edition books upon the user reaching the required reading level. This is also mandatory. And then we have the special edition books, including different features like unique cover arts, bonus content, or outer annotations or early access to upcoming releases. This is optional. And finally, we have the system encountering an error while verifying reading levels or granting access. This is mandatory. To the third part, the energy reading. This is to enhance the user engagement to the application. So the first part is that the system shall track the user's reading activity, accumulating points based on their metrics such as hours spent on reading, number of chapters completed, or page they have turned on. So that is mandatory. And then the system shall provide a conversion mechanism that translates the user reading activity into point. The activity they have done before, we will convert it into points. This is mandatory. And then the system shall offer variety of benefits or rewards that users can redeem using their accumulated points. This is optional for now. And finally, we have the system to notify users of their earned points, available benefits that they can claim on, and then upcoming expirations of their point through in-app notifications or email. This is optional since the variety benefits is also optional. And then for the fourth functional requirement, we have the augmented reality merchandise, also 5 IDs. Here, the system will allow users to unlock the AR merchandise depending on their achievement, and this is mandatory. And then the system should allow the user to inspect the merchandise if it's a 3D model, mandatory. And then the system should allow the user to use the merchandise in other functionalities as visual makeover, mandatory. The system shall allow the user to display their AR merchandise on their account. This is optional, and also optional is the system's ability to allow the user to view their merchandise in a protected view. Moving on to the final functional requirement, the report yearly bookmark. Here, the system should allow the user to review their annual reading journey via statistic, milestones, or achievements. Then the system will allow the user to share their bookmarks with other users in the system. This is mandatory. So there is also optionals such as the system's ability to allow the user to share their bookmark on other apps such as their social medias. And finally, the system shall allow the user to connect with others that have similar bookmarks. Now we have a look on the performance. This is part of the non-functional requirement. So the system must provide a response to users' request within a maximum of 2 seconds. We aim that to be mandatory. And then the system will possess the capacity or capability to efficiently manage high levels of demand. And then the system should be operational continuously without any significant periods of inactivity on the application. Now we have the security non-functional requirement. For this part, the user should be safeguarded with password encryption. This is mandatory. The encryption is required for sensitive data, including financial records and customer information. This is desirable. And finally, robust access control mechanism with the system in order to impede unauthorized access. This is desirable. The third part, we touch on the scalability. Here, the system must possess the capability to accommodate an increase in quantity of users and books in the application. The system also must possess the capability to manage increasing transaction volumes. Both of these are of mandatory priority. And finally, desirables is that the system must include modularity and flexibility to accommodate future expansion for the application. And last but not least, we have the usability as part of the NFR. So here, the user interface should possess a high level of intuitiveness, basically user-friendly to navigate by the customer. This is mandatory. The system must be designed to accommodate users with disabilities to make their use of the application easier, but this is optional. And then the system should offer extensive online assistance and documentation for such as manuals, and this is desirables. So basically, manuals for the use of application should be documented properly. So for the scenario-based modeling, here is our use case model. So basically, we have two actors sharing the same scenarios, which is the integrated eye tracking. You unlock special edition book and rich reading, augmented reality merchandise, and report yearly bookmarks, as mentioned in the functional requirements. So moving on based on that, for the use case specification, the first one being the integrated eye tracking. So the use case is about enabling integration of eye tracking functionality into the system for monitoring and recording user behavior, their reading behavior specifically. So first, the user must grant permission for the system to access their eye tracking data, and the activation is based on the system's demand. The flow is such as the basic flow. The use case begin when the user activates the eye tracking feature from the system setting, and then the system will initiate the eye tracking device or API and display real-time guest informations on the user interface. User can then start reading their ebook, and the system will track the time spent reading the books through the eye tracking function. The system record guest duration on different ebook sections. The user can customize the eye tracking settings such as sensitivity and calibrate based on their preference. However, the user has the option to share eye tracking data or their reading insights on their social media. This will lead to an alternate flow. The alternate flow is where they link their social media account, where the system will prompt the user on which social media that they would like to share the data of their eye tracking with. However, there is an exceptional flow. In case that the eye tracker doesn't work, the system will display the message that the eye tracker API crashed on the screen. The user can then choose to send a bug report to the system. And the post condition for the use case is that the system will store the eye tracking data for the user's reading session, and then the reading insights are available for the user to review and share to their social medias. The rule is that the user must first grant permission to the system to access the eye tracking data. The constraint is that the availability of eye tracking functionality depends on the compatibility of the user's device to the API. There is only one account that can be logged in the browser at the same time. So for the second use case specification, the special edition book for unlocking them, the use case is about the system offering special edition books with exclusive features to users who have achieved certain reading levels of mentioned. And the precondition for this is that the system has defined tiers of the special edition books based on reading levels, and user has unlocked their levels based on their reading activity. The characteristic of the activation is such that the user attains a reading level that unlocks the special edition book. For the flow of event, the basic flow is that the user reach a reading level that unlocks a special edition book, and then the system display the available special edition book to the user. User then select the special edition book that they want to access. The system verify whether the user has reached the reading level needed, and then the system will grant the access to the special edition book. Then user can view and enjoy the special features of the book. The alternative flow is that user attempts to access a special edition book before reaching the required reading level. In case that this happens, the system displays a message indicating that the required reading level and encourage the user to continue reading. The assertional flow is in case of invalid ID or password. The system encounters an error while verifying reading levels or granting access. And then the system will display an error message to the user and logs the error for troubleshooting in case that this happens. The post conditions is that the user has access to the special edition book and its features, and the system has recorded the user's access to the book for tracking purposes. The rules is that the first special edition books are only accessible to users that reach the required reading level. The second, special features of special edition books may vary, and then the access to special edition books may be limited in certain ways, such as time limited access or limited number of views. The constraints, however, is that the system must accurately track users' reading level. The system must securely manage access to special edition books, and then the system must be able to handle different type of special features for the books. Moving on to the third part for reading enrichment or enriched reading. Here, the aim of the function is to enhance the user reading experience by tracking their activities, and then we convert them to points so that they can redeem benefits and provide notifications based on the time that they can redeem their points. So the precondition, the user must be logged in into the system, and then the user should be an ongoing reading activity. The characteristic of the activation is that the function is activated when the user engage in reading within the system. So it is complementary with the eye tracking. And then the flow of the event is that first, tracking reading activity, the system will continuously monitor the user reading activity, including their hour spent, chapters completed, and the page turn. The points are then accumulated based on the tracked metrics. And then for the conversion, the system translate the accumulated reading activity points using the conversion functions, and then it offers benefit and reward based on the points. And then it will also notify the users on their earned points, available benefits that they can redeem, or upcoming expirations of their points in app notifications or the email. The alternative flow, however, is that if there is no ongoing reading activity, the functionality will remain inactive. So the exceptional flow, on the other hand, is that the system encounters an error while tracking user activity. In case of this, system display an error message to the user and logs the error for troubleshooting. The post condition is that the user accumulated points, redeem benefits, and notification preference are updated in the system. The rules are that the points are awarded based on the predefined metrics. This is the hour spans and so on, as mentioned before. The conversion determines how reading activity points are translated into redeemable format. And then the benefits or rewards are offered is subject to availability, means that it may be limited and may vary based on the user points. The constraint, however, is that the system ability to accurately track the reading activity depends on their interaction with the application, and the notification delivery may be subject to the user's device setting. And for the fourth use case is that the AR merchandise. Here, the use case involves the management and utilization of AR merchandise into the system. The precondition is that the user must be logged in first, and then the system has AR merchandise available in the website. And characteristic is that the user initiated, where It is activated when the user interact with the AI features. The basic flow is where the user achieves specific goals or milestones within the system, and the system will recognize the user's achievement to unlock new AR merchandise items. Then the user can select an AR merchandise item and choose to inspect it. If the selected AR merchandise includes a 3D model, it can be loaded for inspection. And then the user can apply the AR merchandise in other functions such as visual makeovers. The user can choose to display their AR merchandise on their account profile. Then the user can view other users' AR merchandise in a protected view. However, the alternative flow is that if the user does not achieve any milestones, they won't unlock the new AR merchandise. If the selected AR merchandise does not include a model, the system informs the user. And if the user does not have the AR merchandise, they won't be able to apply it during visual makeovers. And finally, for exceptional fault, if the specific AR merchandise is not available or there are any issues, the user may receive a notification or message to from the problem. The post condition is that the user has unlocked, inspected, and displayed their AR merchandise based on their achievement and preference. The rules first is that the merchandise is unlocked based on specific user achievement. Then inspection is available for AR merchandise item with 3D models. AR merchandise can be used in other functions like visual makeovers, and user can choose to display the merchandise on their account. However, viewing the other users' AR merchandise is allowed only in a protected view. The constraint is that the availability of the AR merchandise item depends on the user's achievement and the specific merchandise. And for the final FR, it is the report yearly bookmark. So the use case is about the user reviewing and share their yearly reading journey, including the statistic, milestones, or achievements. They can share their bookmarks with other users within the system and extend sharing it to external applications such as their social medias. The precondition is that the user is logged in into the account and the system has a collection of AR merchandise items available. The activation is user initiated. It is activated when the user interact with the AR merchandise features. The basic flow is that the use case begin when the user navigates to yearly bookmark sections. Then the user select the option to review the annual reading journey, and then the system display their statistics related to their yearly bookmark data. Then they decide to share their bookmark with other users. Then the system facilitates the sharing process and the bookmarks are made accessible to other users. They can choose to share it to specific external apps such as their social medias. And then the system generate a link or content for the selected bookmark. The user decides to connect with other users who have similar bookmarks. The system identifies users with similar reading patterns and bookmarks. And finally, the user reviews and confirms the connection with suggested users. The alternative flow, however, if the user decides to cancel any action during the process, they can do so by selecting the cancellation option. The system will confirm the cancellation, and upon it, the current action is cancelled and the system will return to the previous state. The exception is that if there is an error displaying the yearly bookmark data, the system will display an error message and ask them to try again. If there is an issue with the sharing bookmark within the system or on external app, the system will display error message and provide guidance to resolve the issues. The post condition is that the user's yearly bookmark data is saved in the system and then the shared bookmarks are accessible to other users. Finally, the connections with users who have similar bookmarks are established. And the rules is that the only registered and login users can access the bookmark. And the system facilitates connection based on the similar bookmark patterns.
The constraint is that the availability and accuracy of the bookmark depend on the user's reading activity and data for the specific time. Sharing on SNS also relies on compatibility and integration with the other applications.
Hello, my name is Mohammed Shafiq bin Asari, and I'll be talking about the requirement, negotiation, and validation of our project. So let's go. So for our project, the negotiation part of things, we have 5 specific things that we really negotiated on, which is the limited resource availability, delivery time, project costs, conflict analysis, and content validation. Now we're going to be looking into each one of these very in detail right after this. For the negotiation part of things, we have 5 different things, right? So let's look at the first one, limited resource availability. This was negotiated on the 28th of November 2023 with the client. Now, the client expressed the concerns about creating and maintaining the AR content for virtual merchandise as it requires ongoing efforts. Now, one of the negotiation points was that we as the developers are going to be using reusable AR templates for virtual merchandise. Also, we're going to encourage user-generated AR content to supplement in-house efforts. So rather than we create it ourselves, users themselves can create AR-generated content, maybe through competitions or the likes of which. And lastly, explore partnerships with AR content providers to diversify and enrich the virtual merchandise or AR experience. So rather than us doing it ourselves, because we're not as competent in a sense, we can collaborate with other AR content providers who are much more well versed in that area. So the second thing is delivery time, where the client really was quite worried, and this was negotiated on the 3rd of December 2023. And they emphasized that the type project timeline is a bit worried. Developing and maintaining the AR wayfinding system requires an ongoing updates and potentially causing delays. The negotiation that we had was developing a flexible AR solution and collaborating with technology providers may take approximately 2 to 3 months. So we did tell them that it's basically going to be okay, and tentative delivery for it will be on the 26th of 2023. Third will be project costs, which was done or negotiated, I should say, was on the 7th of December 2023, and this was also with the client. Don't worry, it's not just the client, there's also the publisher later on. We'll talk about that later. The client also raised concerns about the project's cost. Understandable, as there are a lot of things, a lot of functionalities that look like could be very expensive, but uh, yeah, we negotiated with them that the eye tracking features won't exceed the initial estimate. The reason being is because we negotiated that we're going to settle down for cloud infrastructure, for data storage and pre-processing and processing, which was scouted around $5,000 by Azure. Now, the fourth thing is conflict analysis, sorry, which was negotiated on the 17th of December 2023 with the client as well. And the client raised concerns about point system may face scalability changes as user base grows. So they're a bit worried that due to the scalability might grow, the point system, which is going to be interconnected between users, might be a problem in the performance of the system itself. So one of the negotiation points was we will conduct extensive load testing to simulate various levels of user activity, so high traffic or low traffic or medium traffic or even unusually high traffic, and ensure the point system can handle increased loads without any performance degradation, meaning the system will be tested to be robust and basically pretty strong in that sense. Now, the last one is content validation on the 18th of December 2023, and this time it was with the publishers and not the client. So the client it's technically book access, but the publishers themselves, because we are doing this for a bookstore, we have to deal with publishers as well as the stakeholders, because a bookstore wouldn't exist without any publishers, because publishers are the ones who publish the books, right? So the publishers raise concerns that regarding the system validation of the content in our system, because they're afraid that the content are not in line with their or either the author's vision. So we definitely understand that, and we negotiated that any and all content created based on any owned IP or intellectual property or copyright will be subjected to review by related authorities before being able to be used in a system. Meaning that whatever merchandise, AR merchandise, or the content that we want to create has to be greenlit by the people who created it and also had a hand in making it or publishing it. Uh, Also, to reinforce that, we're going to give a royalty to the original authors and publishers as a token of appreciation and agreement to use their respective IPs. The content of the agreement is subject to change and variation between authors and publishers. Now, with negotiation out of the way, we're going to now look at validation. So now validation, we also did this in terms of 6 things, which is specifically for our requirements, which is AR merchandise, timeout eye tracker, special edition book, enriched reading, augmented reality wayfinding, and lastly, yearly bookmark. So we're going to look into these again in detail right now. Now for validation, we have a few things to validate, specifically our features. So first is timeout and eye tracker. So for the first one is if the user is inactive for 3 minutes, a warning message pops up, and after additional 2 minutes of inactivity, the system times out to ensure security and efficiency of the system itself. So this specific feature was passed, as well as for every 15 minutes of active reading, the system grants 5 points. And then basically what it is it point number as the more you read. However, it caps it because we don't want to encourage prolonged reading. This part was also validated and it was passed as well. So second thing is special edition book. User unlock access to special edition books as users achieve a certain reading level, or either have complete a set of books. So basically, the idea of users being able to unlock the special edition books, maybe from reading a whole entry or either a whole series, and to get the final book unlocked or something like that. Basically, this also was passed as well. Third one is enriched reading, which every time a user reads a book, they earn points, and they can use the points to redeem discounts and whatnot. This was also passed. Augmented reality wayfinding, the AR-based system that will guide users to book locations in store, in a physical store using arrow directions and pop-up guides. Enhancing in-store navigation was also passed as well. Now, the last two things, AR merchandise, where the user can purchase certain books and unlock the AR themed content, such as custom aerosols for the augmented reality wayfinding beforehand, and also maybe related posters for their walls in their room for their AR room related things. This was also passed. And lastly, the yearly bookmark, where provides users with summary of their reading habits, including statistics and recommendations, fostering a deeper connection with their reading journey was also passed. So all of the features was passed in the end. Now, the next thing that I'm going to be presenting on is the requirement management for our project. So there are quite a few. Specifically, there are 9 different things that we have to manage, which is gather requirements, structuring requirements, documenting requirements and ensuring them, requirement prioritization, and then we have to ensure quality, maintain the requirements, trace them or trace the requirements, assess changes and approve requirements. So again, we're going to go into detail for each and every one of them uh, in the next slide. Now, in requirement management, this section is basically to list out the requirement management process that will be done during this crucial aspect of the final system. Now, by listing this out, basically it helps the team and stakeholders have a shared understanding of how the project's goals and features is going to be obtained. Thus, this section will be discussing about systematically gathering, structuring, documenting, prioritizing, and ensuring quality and maintaining requirements throughout the project's lifecycle. For the first thing is we're going to be talking about gathering requirements. So during this phase, the team will basically collaborate closely with the client and really understand their vision and expectations. Requirements then will be collected by the team through discussions, workshops, and feedbacks. And basically, we just have to really make that comprehensive understanding of the system better for both sides. Now, the objective again is to understand and document the client's needs and expectations for the innovative bookstore management system. And again, going to be through meetings, workshops with stakeholders, use techniques such as interviews, surveys, and observation, the standard ones, and also utilizing brainstorming sessions, which is a bit more 21st century, and also document any and all gathered requirement in a structured format for further analysis. My second part was structure requirements. So the team from gathering the requirements, then we have to structure them. The team will basically structure the gathered requirements into logical groups, ensuring a systematic approach to the development. So this basically helps the group or the team itself to understand how the requirements link to each other and how they should be organized. Again, as I said, objective is to organize and categorize gathered requirements to create a clear and manageable set of project deliverables. Again, the process is basically pretty simple. Group related requirements into categories or modules. So something very logical, easy to understand. Use a requirement traceability matrix to link requirements to specific project objectives. and then identify dependencies and relationship between different requirements, and also assign unique identifiers for each requirement for easy tracking. The third thing is documenting requirements and ensuring consistency. So the objective here is to clearly document requirements to serve as a reference throughout the project, ensuring consistency and shared understanding among team members. This is basically to ensure that the whole team doesn't go like off target. So they have this document. We have the requirements documented to make sure everyone stays on track, and still is working towards the goal that we have set early on. So again, the process is to standardize a template to document each requirement, including its description, acceptance criteria, and any other relevant details. Do a regular review and validate requirements with stakeholders to ensure the accuracy is still up to par, and also address any inconsistency or conflicts in the requirement documentation properly. And then for the fourth one is requirement prioritization. So from being able to document the requirements, we also have to be able to prioritize them. Which requirement should be done first and which one should be handled first. Again, objective is assign priorities for requirements based on their importance and urgency. And the process is to collaborate with stakeholders to determine which requirement is going to be critically important. Techniques like Moscow must have, should have, and could have, and won't have supervised requirements, and also consider project constraints, timelines, and dependencies when assigning priorities. Now, the fifth one is ensure quality. So again, the objective is to verify the requirements are clear, complete, and meet predefined quality standards. And the process to do this is conduct peer reviews to assess the quality of requirement documentation, use validation techniques such as prototyping or simulations to validate critical requirements, and employ quality metrics to measure the completeness and clarity of the requirements. So basically, this is just to make sure the quality of the requirements itself is still up to par. Sixth one is maintain requirements. So manage changes to requirements, update documentation as needed, and ensure alignment with evolving project goals. So as the project lifecycle goes on, requirements might change, but basically this is going to help us update documentation and also manage changes to requirements itself, but still keep that level of quality from level 5 just now. Again, the process is to establish a change of control process to handle modifications to requirements, keep documentations up to date, reflecting the current state of requirements so no one is left out, communicate changes to stakeholders, and ensure their understanding and agreement so they don't pull out with their money. So these two things are still incredibly important. One is for the team itself, and one is for the stakeholders who are basically holding all of the money for the project that we're going to be doing. Is submit the trace requirements. So with all the requirement things being done, we still have to be able to trace them some way, somehow. So trace requirements is to establish and maintain traceability links between requirements, ensuring visibility into the origins and impacts of the project. So this is to ensure that some of the requirements are not just dummy requirements, and each of them have their own impact. And we can see where they came from what problem, and what it's trying to fix, and how it impacts that fix itself. So the processes that we can use is utilize requirement traceability matrix, RTM, as I said just now, to map relationship between requirements and projects, establish bidirectional traceability, design elements, test cases, and other project artifacts. Again, to just make it easily tracked to where it came from, and regularly update the traceability links. Number 8 is assess changes. So it's pretty similar to the one we had just now, which is maintain requirements. But the objective for this one is to evaluate proposed changes to requirements considering their impact on the project scope and time and resources. So rather than making sure the changes are being documented, this is to make sure the change itself is basically up to quality. So if the change itself wouldn't have such a big impact and would make even more problems, then the change itself shouldn't be considered. But this is basically to make sure that each change that we're going to do to any requirement is big enough and is impactful enough that we should do it in a sense. The process is to establish a formal change control board responsible for reviewing and assessing proposed changes. This can include the development team, the stakeholders, the publicity team, and even publishers as well. Evaluate the necessity for urgency of changes, and also communicate assessment outcomes to stakeholders and decision makers. And the last one is the approved requirements. So any and all requirements still have to be approved, and also this goes for changes as well. So obtain formal approval from stakeholders for finalized requirement before they are incorporated into the development process itself. Again, present the finalized requirements to relevant stakeholders for review through a presentation and basically pitching, facilitate discussions to address any concerns and queries raised during approval process, and lastly, collect formal sign-offs or approval from key stakeholders. So from A to Z, from pitching to getting the black and white signed form of the requirements being approved. So after going through multiple requirements, going through like pruning all of them, receiving which requirements are important, and then going through the changes of each requirement on how important they are, and if the changes is needed. Lastly, we finally have to approve the requirements itself with a black and white signature. So yeah, that is basically all for requirement management. So lastly, we have requirement engineering tools. So in the realm of our innovative Bookstore Management System project, we have to find the right requirement engineering tools because it is quite paramount to the success of the execution of our project. So the tools itself is to help the team and also the stakeholders to be able to communicate and understand how progress is going. So for the first tool that we're going to be looking at is Jira. So Jira stands out as a versatile project management and issue tracking tool well suited for the complexities of our project. So as you can see in the picture itself, it has this Gantt chart, which can basically keep track of everyone's progress and each requirement's progress as well. Um, yeah, it's very renowned for capabilities in the tracking, and also it is very structured in the sense of its environment and facilitates seamless capture of organization, prioritization of requirements as well. So Jira is very strong in this sense, and it's been used in a lot of other companies as well. Second thing we can be looking at is IBM Engineering Requirements Management or Management Doors or DORS. So in other words, IBM Doors. Right. So IBM Doors emerges as a comprehensive solution addressing intricate requirements of the Bookstore Management System. Its capabilities extend beyond just mere management, powering teams to capture, trace, and analyze and align requirements. So rather than just now with the ability to just not only just like see the progress, this one can really track. So from where to where and on. Third one, we'll be looking at Confluence, which is developed by Atlassian. Confluence complements Jira. So again, these are all interconnected to some degree. But Confluence complements Jira by offering a collaborative space for documentation and sharing requirements. So Confluence is more on being able to share Jira stuff. It is collaborative space and it can help document, share everything. Uh, Yeah, so it serves as an integral part of the toolset because it is the part where we share everything. And it provides a dedicated platform where teams can collaboratively create, discuss, and revise requirements. So as we talked about just now, with the whole changes in requirements, Confluence is where most of it can happen. Whatever changes, the whole team can discuss on this one platform, and we can all collaborate together to really make sure that the change itself is the best that it can be. Now, the Spark System Enterprise Architect, so yeah, so this specific tool itself, as you can see, helps in creating diagrams for activity, for like use cases, misuse cases, flow charts, state diagrams, and so on and so forth. It is a visual modeling tool and it has capabilities to allow users to create intricate models of requirements, trace relationships, and etc. So basically, this is we use to show our stakeholders and how our system is actually going to work. Because if you show them code and the requirements itself, they're not really going to understand. But with a flowchart and something visual with a flow, it's much easier for stakeholders to understand and be able to accept or either get in touch, not to get in touch, but understand our way of thinking and like our ideas. Interface is Requisite Pro, which is formerly known as Requisite Pro, which is part of IBM next. Uh, this tool offers specialized capabilities for managing and tracking requirements. So it's basically IBM Doors, but it's a little bit more specific. But I believe now it's also part of IBM Doors anyways. So lastly, you have Tulip. Tulip is an open source platform emerges as a flexible and customizable solution, aligning with varied development methodologies of the Bookstore Management System project. Other than being collaborative, Tulip also allows teams to define, manage, and trace requirements throughout the development lifecycle. The platform's flexibility ensures that it can adapt to unique demands and evolving nature of the project. So again, Tulip is just another platform that the team can basically collaborate on, but it is a bit more documentation heavy rather than the one that we saw beforehand, which was Confluence. Confluence and Jira is more on the management side. This one is more on the documentation side. So basically, we need these tools to make sure that the management of the requirements are kept in line and also being tracked at all times, because we don't want some requirements to be done while others aren't, because some requirements are dependent on other requirements being like done in that time, because requirement A might be depending, requirement C is dependent on requirement A and B, but we can't do C if A has not been done but B has, right? So these tools basically help in us being able to communicate with each other, with the team, and also with the stakeholders to make sure everything goes well and up to date, and the flow of the development process is not really hindered in any way, because we are chasing that timeline, we are chasing a deadline created by the company itself. So yeah, so that's about it. Thank you very much, Doctor, for listening and watching. And yeah, that's all from our team. Bye bye.